Good morning. They actually made a significant improvement, as you say, in particular in terms of de-risking with the help of the state, of course, and in terms of efficiency. So they are now operating with a much better cost-income ratio. This has benefited profitability, so you have seen the result in the last few years, but indeed, there is still more to do in terms of completing the transformation and the consolidation. That's why we are talking about this transaction in the last several months.
Marco, you've got to admit, in times of turmoil in the past, Italy has suffered big time, completely different this time round. In fact, on the upbeat days, it's the Italian stock market leading the charge, and it's Italian banks where some investors are pivoting their funds to. European banks, and of course, some of the big Italian names at the forefront of that reallocation. Isn't that extraordinary in your view?
Well, Italy has gained credibility in the last few years, thanks to, let's say, better political stability overall. In terms of the banking sector, you need to remember that Italian banks were coming very much from behind. They were trading at a very big discount in terms of price book value. So some of the best part of the recovery they had in the last 2 years is linked to the fact that there has been a repricing to put them on par with the rest of Europe.
And Marco, we had Banco BPM, we had the Norway's Wealth Fund saying yes to Monte dei Paschi, going ahead with Mediobanca bid. I'm wondering, as the AGM is taking place today, what do you think is going to be the outcome? Is Mr. Lovaglio going to get enough support to go ahead with this bid?
I suppose so, because most of the preference shareholders have expressed their positive view. It is an awkward transaction, you must admit, because this is a bank that comes out from 2 rescues in the last 7-8 years, driven by the Italian Treasury. Is now on solid footing, but the fact that they do launch a hostile takeover bid on a larger player, trading at a premium and operating in a different business model, it's a bit awkward. It does make sense, however, from a point of view of the 2 common preference shareholders, so Delfin, the holding company of the Del Vecchio family, and Caltagirone, the private industrial group. This is an ingenious scheme from their standpoint, because they want to take control of Mediobanca and this way gain influence, larger influence on Generali through the stake that Mediobanca has in Generali. They wouldn't be allowed to take over Mediobanca directly. They wouldn't be authorized to do that. So the best thing is to use Monte dei Paschi as a Trojan horse to achieve that goal. It makes sense for them. It might make sense for some of the other shareholders. In general, I must say that other stakeholders might think differently, and that would be the key topic to be discussed. But today's vote is going to go through.
Marco, am I right in understanding your words as suggesting that what's happening in Italian consolidation is actually a play for Generali, that it is Caltagirone and Delfin, and what they want is ultimately ownership of Generali?
In this particular case, I do believe that that's the case. That's the end game. As you know, they both have a stake in Generali, but this stake is not sufficiently meaningful to really drive the next strategic steps, because on the other hand, you have a corresponding stake owned by Mediobanca. So the best way to align interest is also to be able to drive the Mediobanca stake in Generali, making sure that it's aligned with their own interests in the future.